O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:06. It's O'Connor and Company here on the 12th day of June. It's a Wednesday, and you know what that means. It's the middle of the week. Coming up at 7:35, Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch, get his take on the Hunter Biden conviction yesterday. And 8:05, Jenny Terr, New York Post, who's got a big scoop. 6 Russian nationals with suspected ties to ISIS arrested. They had been released after crossing the border illegally. I'm Larry O'Connor. That there is Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. 1 week from today, we'll know who won the primaries in Virginia. And our next guest, I hope he's one of the names we'll be reading. He is Hung Cao. He's running for the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate, and he joins us now. Good morning, Hung.
Hi, Larry and Julie. How do you guys do today?
We're not bad. We're busy. I know you're busy, too, as you try to make the final push here. Listen, why don't you sort of start with a summary? If there's any voters out there who are just sort of like paying attention now and they're on the fence, they don't know who they should vote for, tell them why they should vote for you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so I came here as a refugee from Vietnam. I grabbed onto the American dream. I went to Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology. We were first class to graduate from there. I went to United States Naval Academy where I got a bachelor's in engineering, and I went to Naval Postgraduate School where I earned a master's in physics, and I had fellowships at Harvard and MIT. But I paid back every single dime of that American dream with 25 years of service in Navy Special Operations. I was a Navy deep sea diver. I recovered John F. Kennedy Jr., his wife, his sister-in-law, and I recovered other aircraft that crashed in the ocean. And I defused bombs for our SEAL teams and Special Forces teams in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Somalia. I also, in my off time, from combat, I was balancing the Navy's $140 billion budgets in the Pentagon. So that's me in a nutshell, Larry.
It's you in a nutshell. You're also a parent in Virginia of many children that you're homeschooling, and so I know that the family issues and education issues are important to you. What I'm asking every candidate here as they make their final appeal is, and I'll be honest, I think this is a great field of candidates. I think you would agree, Hung, that you are amongst some really great individuals who want to represent the Republican Party. So as a voter, the biggest issue is I want the person who can win. I want the person who can finally beat Tim Kaine. Why are you that guy?
No, that's a great question. So I ran for Congress in the 10th Congressional District in 2022, right? And that's with the Loudoun County, the infamous Loudoun County. And, that's an area where Joe Biden won by 19 points. I took it down to 6 points. That means I got 13% of people who voted Democrat last time to come out to vote for me. And look, if we bring out the South, and the South comes out and I'm able to move the North the way I did, we're going to win this race already. And then that's why Donald Trump believes in me. That's why I got his full endorsement. And he says, hey, Hung, you and I, we're going to take Virginia. I'm like, yes, sir, let's do it. But let's compare me and Tim Kaine on the podium. You contrast me with him on that podium. It's very, very clear contrast. Right? Both of us received a government paycheck for 30 years. He's got millions of dollars to show for it, and I've got scars. Yeah. I've got scars all over my body. So you tell me who fought for us and who protected us. It wasn't Tim Kaine. He just lined his pockets.
I will tell you, Hung, as a Virginia parent who really endured quite a lot of pain during watching my children during COVID, Tim Kaine did nothing. He was absolutely silent, and you spoke up for parents, and I am personally very grateful for all you did during that time. But there are others you're facing in a primary, and it's a deep bench. And we've interviewed others, one of which was Eddie Garcia, who came on the show yesterday and suggested that you're dealing with some sort of a scandal. Do you want to respond to those charges?
Look, it's absolutely ridiculous and it's false. But here, I got 7 minutes with you guys. I'm not going to talk about somebody else. The fact is that Tim Kaine's worried about me. He's been coming after me since 12 hours after I announced my candidacy because he knows that he's very vulnerable against someone like me. I like you said, in 2022, remember their commercials like, and Hung Cao wants to punch Fauci in the face. Well, who doesn't right now? He basically, right? He set back an entire generation of kids, and they can never catch up now.
Yeah.
And he shut down businesses that were handed down from generation to generation. And now we're finding out that he pulled it out of his keister. Like the fact that we the 6 foot distancing and everything he did was just wrong. We
The
could have
lie.
gotten this. Yeah, we could have made this country so healthy. Say, hey, go outside, get some vitamin D, get some exercise. We could have turned this country around. But you know that the birth rate in America dropped during COVID because families were so afraid of everything. They weren't even getting intimate. We had high rates of divorce. I mean, he destroyed the whole nation. And so that guy should be held accountable.
You would think
And
with all that
Tim
time
Kaine
on their
said that.
hands.
Yeah,
at home,
exactly. What were
that
people
you'd have an
doing?
Opposite effect there, but
kinda
that's
boring.
maybe I live life differently. Hung Kao is our guest. He wants your vote for the Republican nomination for Senate. So listen, Virginia seems to be in play. Governor Youngkin said that Virginia is up for grabs this November. A lot of people sort of thought that if it's a presidential election year, that's going to help the Democrats in Virginia. But I want you to talk about how these recent polls now 2 in a row show Virginia a dead heat between Trump and Biden. And you got the Trump endorsement. So, I mean, how is that going to make a difference for you?
Absolutely, it is. Look, it's actually there was 6 polls that had them neck and neck, and one of them, Biden's own pollster put me against Tim Kaine, just me alone, because they assumed I was going to win, and I'm within striking distance of Tim Kaine, and that's before I've even won the primary. So you're saying that there's a chance, but there is a very good chance. No, there's a very, very strong chance for us to win this, and we just need to get voters out. And Virginia is one of those weird places where the more people come out, the more red it is, and we can bring out Southwest. My gosh, this game is over.
So make your closing argument here. You've got about a minute and a half to sort of seal the deal and make sure that voters show up for you. So what do you need between now and primary day next Tuesday? What are you looking for, and what's your final case to be made?
And just like you said, voters need to come out and vote. You have to put someone out there that's going to, challenge Tim Kaine. He is very vulnerable right now. Remember, this guy was put aside. He was supposed to be picked by Barack Obama to be the running mate, but he was so terrible as the governor of Virginia, they picked Joe Biden over him. But you put me against Tim Kaine on that podium. That the contrast is very visible. I'm a refugee to this country, and the biggest problem we have right now is that border. And I'm going to tell you, don't ask for the American dream if you're not willing to obey the American laws and embrace American culture. Because I love this country so much, I wrote a blank check up to and including my life to protect this country. So I'm not done fighting for us.
That's Hung Kao. Hung Kao. He is in it to win it. He's looking to get the Republican nomination. And, of course, we're interviewing all of the candidates for that race between now and the big day next Tuesday. Hung, get back out there and get to work. I know you've got a job to do, so get it done.
Yes, sir. We'll get it done. Thank you so much, Julie.
It is 7:15. When you said thank you, Julie, you didn't say thank you, Larry.
Hey, Larry too.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I know how you
He's
need
still
you guys
there,
are.
Larry.
It's fine. Yeah, it's all right. 7:15. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the 5s, here's Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Okay, thank you, Julie. We'll start in Maryland on Route 100 each. Oh.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
On the next Vince Coglianese show, the big story that the media absolutely refuses to tell you about today, we've got it 3 o'clock here on WMAL.
Let me just pick up this story here from Jenny Terr's great reporting at the New York Post. And Jenny is going to join us at 8:05. Remember, she used to cover the border and other issues here in Washington for Daily Caller. She got a new job at the New York Post, moved down to Texas to cover the border. I remember as she was heading out, we had her on the air and I said, now don't forget us, now that you're a big hotshot reporter for the New York Post.
And she is.
And she hasn't. She's breaking great stories,
Yeah,
and
she
she
really
continues
is.
to come right back here to
Yes.
O'Connor and Company to share them. So she'll join us at 8:05. Here's how the story goes. New York Post, Jenny Terr byline. 6 Russian nationals suspected to have terror ties to ISIS have been arrested in a coordinated sting operation spanning Los Angeles, New York, and Philadelphia, the Post can exclusively reveal. 2 ICE sources confirmed to the Post they arrested the 6 people who hail from Tajikistan over the last week after the FBI contacted the agency to warn it. 2 others who were part of the same group were also arrested after being under surveillance for several months by a multi-agency joint terrorism task force, according to NBC. Part of the investigation featured a wiretap which revealed one of the now arrested individuals was talking about bombs. Quote, remember the Boston Marathon bombing? I'm afraid something like that might happen again or worse, unquote, one of the sources told the Post. By the way, the individuals who have been arrested, they crossed the border illegally under Joe Biden's watch. They were apprehended and then they were released, just like the other millions of people who have crossed illegally.
This is one case where they have found 6 individuals. Okay. Think of the millions who have come across this border unchecked, unvetted, and they're let go into the country. In fact, they're bused or they're transported via plane. They're put up in hotels. They're given food and they're given cell phones. Think of the number of people who are planning these types of terrorist attack. And thank God they managed to disrupt this one. But how many more are there? This is
That's
terrifying.
right.
Absolutely terrifying.
This is great work by the individuals
Yes.
in law enforcement who continue to do great work despite the overwhelming odds and the untenable climate that has been created deliberately by this administration for purely political purposes. But you're right. The bigger fear is this is the one we know about.
Yeah.
What about the ones we don't know about? It also says here that the Bureau has been investigating whether dozens of migrants from Uzbekistan crossed the U.S.-Mexico border with the help of a Turkish smuggler tied to ISIS. That's according to a CNN report in August. You know, Alejandro Mayorkas was on ABC News this week with Martha Raddatz on Sunday. And was trying to talk about how, you know, this recent executive order that Joe Biden put in place for purely political purposes that really won't do anything, but only serves as a talking point between now and Election Day, that in some way is going to harm human smugglers because they're reducing to, 2,500 a day that people can cross. When Jay Johnson, the former Homeland Security Director under Barack Obama, said 1,000 is overwhelming, and they're making the threshold 2,500. And right now we're averaging 4,000 crossing illegally every day. But let me just say something. He says, "Oh, we're trying to really stick it to the human smugglers, the human traffickers, these dirtbags who make money putting these people in harm's way, promising them entry into America. You know how you put a dent in their operations? You have zero tolerance." See, the reason why human traffickers and sex traffickers and human smugglers and the drug cartels, the reason why these people are able to make money from these desperate individuals trying to get to the country is because they actually deliver the service that they're selling. They tell these people, give us 10 grand, we'll get you across the desert, we'll get you to the border. As soon as you're apprehended, say these words and you're granted access to America. And guess what? They deliver. They deliver, and that's why they're making money. The only way to stop this is to shut it down 100%, zero tolerance, and they refuse to do it.
And you've got politicians like AOC and the rest of the squad and the mainstream legacy media that refuses to cover this. According to AOC and the squad, everybody's just looking for a better life, right? No bad actors,
That's
right?
right.
They're all just angels looking for a better life here, trying to find bread for their families. And then the mainstream media absolutely gaslights the American people, telling them there's no problem here. It is absolutely sickening. And when I noted in foreign policy that there's some commentary from sort of foreign policy professionals out there saying that the red light is blinking, that we've got a real national security problem on our hands, that there is chatter out there that there is going to be another terrorist attack. This is terrifying.
It is. It is a ticking time bomb. And it's as if nobody, I mean, listen, again, I'm glad they got these guys. But the only thing that anyone should think of when they see this story, reported beautifully by Jenny Terr at the New York Post, is about the people who got away, the people who we don't know about, the people who are, it's like, oh, this person was on the terror watch list. You know what? If I'm a mastermind terror operator looking to inflict harm on America, I'm going to recruit people who aren't on the terror watch list. I'm going to recruit people who don't have actual ties to terrorists. They're the ones who are here now and who are operating under the radar that we don't know about until we learn what they've done.
Bill Malugin has done some great reporting, obviously, on the border. And I think it was him who was interviewing, I believe they were from Turkey, people coming over the border. And these Turkish men were like, you guys got to get a hold of this. He was saying,
Right.
Remember this? I was like,
You really shouldn't let us be here.
he said he was more concerned about the border. This man who was about to illegally enter the United States was more concerned with the ease at which he could enter the United States than any Democrat in Congress currently elected. It was unbelievable.
Jenny Terr on this story and more covering the border. She joins us at 8:05. Right now, it's 7:23.
105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:36 on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for joining us. Great to have you. Coming up at 8:05, we're going to speak with Jenny Terr about that story we just discussed, her exclusive at the New York Post about 6 suspected terrorists, Russian nationals affiliated with ISIS, arrested. They had crossed the border illegally. We'll get to that coming up. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Julie, good to see you.
Good morning.
Listen, if you were watching MSNBC yesterday after the conviction of Hunter Biden, the son of the president, on 3 federal charges related to gun ownership and illegal firearm possession, if you were watching Andrew Weissman give his legal analyst, this is the big takeaway.
If you look at this case, what is the big picture here? It's not a drug addict who possessed a gun for 2 weeks. It is that you have a president of the United States who is living embodiment of the rule of law.
Oh, that's one take. All right, Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch. Is that the big picture takeaway here? That Hunter Biden's conviction is really proof that Joe Biden is the living embodiment of the rule of law?
It's disturbing to me that man was in a position of authority to remove the freedom of other Americans for any period of time.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me about it.
And it's, to put it charitably, willfully ignorant to say that in light of the fact that this president's Justice Department tried to cover up the activity they were later forced to prosecute Hunter Biden for, and that the Justice Department and the FBI generally were dragged kicking and screaming into prosecuting this case. And it only happened because, frankly, of disclosures by whistleblowers, pressure from Judicial Watch, and exposing the fact they knew all about this early on. And it was 6 years before they brought themselves to prosecute Hunter for this. And everyone's saying, oh, well, this is the type of crime that normally would have been prosecuted alone. Well, yeah, that's what they tried to do. They tried to ball it up with this other shady plea deal involving the tax crimes, and a court blew it up. So that's the only reason it's being prosecuted alone. What a nightmare. And, it's the verdict's right. The trial was fair, but the process to get here was untenable. And the special prosecutor should be held accountable for it because he's the one who sat on it for years.
So do you think, Tom, because I know your work at Judicial Watch and trying to uncover through your efforts so much of the back and forth within the Justice Department, while they've known about it, as you said, they first got the laptop in 2019. Do you think that this is the end of it? Do you think they're going to walk away, they're going to try that move and say, well, justice served, we're done now, when all the other things that are on that laptop are really sort of the major problems, major crimes that also involve the president?
I mean, we already seen that they've done that. They've limited the tax crimes to exclude Joe Biden and the money laundering and the transnational conspiracy and bribery and such that is evident in the laptop and through other evidence, not just the laptop. We've got, Tony Bobolinsky and other evidence of criminality. The trouble for the Bidens is that if they lose the election, they're going to have a different Justice Department that presumably will be unfettered by the constraints of protecting Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. That's been happening, and it happened through the Trump administration, too. I mean, they buried it through the Trump administration, the deep state FBI and DOJ. And even Barr kind of shut this down in the middle of 2020 because he was like, oh, I don't want to get involved in elections.
Tom, none of this would have been exposed, especially that sweetheart deal that you brought up earlier, would have been exposed if it weren't for the IRS whistleblowers, Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler. Can you give us an update on their situation? Because I know that they are facing quite a lot of harassment themselves.
Yeah, that's my understanding. They've been harassed and retaliated against. I think they probably have their own litigation at this point. I think one of them or two of them are being sued by Hunter. Last I checked. So that's what you get in D.C. for telling the truth. And the other whistleblower wasn't really a whistleblower. It was just a judge doing her job. The judge who handled this case, because they brought that shady plea deal before her, and she didn't necessarily say, well, we know there was this suppression beforehand. She just asked basic questions about the plea deal, which was unprecedented. And it blew up. It fell apart under the weight of its own corruption. And then the Justice Department was between a rock and a hard place, and they really had no choice but to proceed with these limited, I call them modified limited hangout prosecutions. That, the minimal necessary to distract the public and pretend that full justice is being meted out against the Biden crime family when in fact it's not. And so this is a good development in terms of the rule of law. It's positive. There's some accountability. Woefully insufficient, though, given the great scheme of things.
Well, and finally, Tom, as you rightly point out, the only way that this really gets fixed and the way that we actually sort of clean up the mess here is to get a new president who is willing to put in a new attorney general and really sort of turn the Justice Department inside out and the FBI inside out. Over on MSNBC and CNN, they describe that as fascism. They describe that as Donald Trump promising to seek revenge against his political enemies. What do you think the response should be to that? When Trump is accused of that, should it be, yeah, you're damn right, that's what we're going to do?
Well, it seems the voting public and polls suggest that they kind of see, the public sees a threat of fascism from those currently in power. And as you point out, it's typical, and it's been pointed out by many others, it's typical gaslighting. They accuse others of doing what they, in fact, are doing. Yeah. And we have these unprecedented, novel prosecutions of their political opponents. It's not like what Hunter did, where it was an obvious crime and he was prosecuted for the first time in history for a crime no one else has ever been called out on. That's true. But with Joe Biden's prosecutions of Trump and his party allies' prosecutions of Trump, these are crimes that no one had ever been prosecuted for, practically speaking, all being applied in novel ways against a former president for acts he committed as president, and for crimes that really aren't crimes in the sense that up in New York he was prosecuted for labeling legal expenses as legal expenses.
Right. Literally. All right, Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. We got to leave it there. But great work, as always, at judicialwatch.org, judicialwatch.org. I speak for a living. Thank you, Tom. Great stuff.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Well, it's almost the July 4th holiday, and midsummer, it's a rite of passage. It's become a tradition. The Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest in Brooklyn, New York, featuring a living legend, Joey Chestnut, right? I mean, this is the guy. He can jam, like 7,000 hot dogs into his pie hole.
Yeah.
But not this year. Not this year. Well, actually, let's remind you first of one of the greatest highlights of Joey Chestnut. I mean, they treat this on ESPN like it's a full-on sport.
10 seconds to go. He's got to get that one down. There we go with 69. Final seconds. He got it. And he got 70. The most hot dogs ever eaten on the corner of Surf and Stillwell Avenues by the greatest eater in the history of mankind.
The greatest
this
eater.
Is great.
Joey Chestnut. But he will not be included this year in the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Competition because he has done well. And it's like, you know how you got to do drug tests, right? You got to do, maybe he was on the juice, it was steroids, things like that. No. They don't care about that.
No.
What they care about is the fact that he has signed a multi-million-dollar deal with a vegan hot dog manufacturer.
He deserves it. What the heck is he thinking?
A meatless hot dog.
It's one of those. It's impossible foods.
Impossible foods. Yeah, impossible meats, impossible. Anyway,
if he had signed with, I don't know, another hot dog brand with real meat, I might not have been as angry.
Yeah.
But he signed with Impossible Foods. That alone.
$1.2 million 4-year deal. And Nathan's, which does not sell fake food. They sell real food.
Yeah, real food, real hot dogs.
Exactly.
Okay.
Nobody pay attention to what's really going on in the hot dog casings. They said no. Forget about it. If you're making money for those guys,
if you're
not
making
gonna
money
be
off
doing anything
vegan
with
wieners.
Yeah.
You don't get.
Let's face it. Most vegans are wieners, aren't they?
Yes, they
Not
are.
them? Yeah. There you go. And technically, they are a rival. It's like going to a Whopper eating contest, but having a deal with McDonald's.
You
right?
gotta love the Impossible Foods guys that are like, you know what? You know who'd be a great spokesman for our company is the guy who shoves 70 all meat hot dogs down his throat. Yeah, that's
Right. Well, listen. Here's the thing. New York may have Joey Chestnut, and he's an apostate now because he's gone for the fake food thing. But let's not forget, here in our area, we've got Sonia Thomas, Alexandria, Virginia's favorite daughter, the Black Widow. She actually, I don't know why Joey Chestnut gets all of the hype because she actually beat Joey's record.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I think we've interviewed
all
her
105 pounds of her.
She's a little slip of a thing, and in 2011, she beat Joey Chestnut in a wing eating contest.
Wow.
Eating wings. They call her the Black Widow, and she's,
And her day job is she's the manager of Burger King at Andrews Air Force Base.
That's right. No, she's awesome, and I think she listens to the show too.
No,
so we'd love to get her because she won't be eating any fake chicken wings out there.
She's not going to be eating Impossible Foods chicken wings.
So you're okay with Joey? See, a lot of people are divided about this. People are like, you can't have the hot dog eating contest without Joey Chestnut, but you think that he has committed the ultimate sin.
Are endorsing a vegan hot dog company?
Well,
first of all, are you even allowed to compete if you're the big spokesman for a competing hot dog company?
I don't know. I mean, it's almost like this whole thing is not regulated in any sort of way, and it's not an actual sport, and it's just.
I don't blame Nathan's. I don't blame. I'm Team Nathan on this.
All right. Well, it's 7:53.